We are a peaceful people. Struggle is we struggle, and we don't look for trouble. Just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. We ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake.
Welcome to our international podcast. We load it up. Uvex Lows. Let us know, folks, if you're hearing us loud and clear. Do let us know if you're receiving us loud and clear. Welcome to each and every one of you. Welcome. We'd love to know if you guys are reading us loud and clear. Do let us know. Do let us know if you're hearing us loud and clear. And love to know how you guys are here. And we kind of trust that's right. Let us know if you're receiving us loud and clear here. And welcome, Atlanta, Georgia. The ancient Selby and all the other good folks joining us. Do let us know if you guys are receiving us loud and clear. Do let us know. Do let us know, folks.
Though we may criticize it, this is our home, we love it, and we need to keep
Do let us know, we want to know.
We have that right, so we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no dream.
Please let us know if you're receiving us loud and clear, guys. Loud and clear. Very good afternoon again, and welcome to our international podcast. Load it out. Uvex Blues, folks. Uvex.
So we ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one chorus, not a blade of grass.
Good to have you folks with us. Welcome, folks. Share the live and smash the emoji button for us, good folks. Welcome below the belt. And we're going to make sure that we share to all the right places. Good to see you, Desmond Harris and Erwin Cook, Carolina Reynolds.
From foreign places, talk about taking over. We ain't backing down. We ain't giving up no mountains. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river.
Folks, still trying to see if you're reading us loud and clear.
Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one chorus, not a blade of grass.
Let us know if you're hearing us loud and clear. Brenda Casey, good to see you. Hazel Wendy Griffith, good to see you as well. Edward Gonzalez from the Bronx. Thanks, Colette. Technician Colette, thank you. All our technicians are working hard. Thanks, Colette Bailey. Colette says loud and clear. All right. Lest we forget, folks, the 2020 general and regional elections. Fraud is fraud. Cheated, but not defeated. Cheated, but not defeated, folks. Marilyn Lorimer, good to see you. Ina Rolea, good to see you as well, Ina. Let me just make sure that we are shared to some other pages. Let me invite you guys to share the broadcast as well. Share the broadcast. Smash that emoji button as well, good folks. Smash that emoji button as well for us. Lois McKenzie. How you doing, Lois? How you doing? Good to see you, Lois. Folks, I'm going to have a guest or two dropping by. Just like you folks. Pace and power, guys. Pace and power. That's how we do it. Good to have you folks here. Trust you guys have had a fantastic weekend. Those of you who are tuning in for the first time for the day, we're happy you guys are here. And we had a good morning on the FYI. We're here now. And we're picking up the broadcast from this end. We're going to have my brother from another mother, my old friend Randy Randolph Critchlow joining us. Y'all know how Randy does it. Yep. We're going to be talking with Randolph Critchlow, Randy. And we're hoping we can have another guest join us. Fingers crossed. I don't want to tell you who that is yet. Fingers crossed. Even got some toes crossed. We're going to have Candy Lean, Inderjeet, Gwyneth Anderson, Beatrice Selby, Ingrid Ambrose. I see Pamela Sanchari, Deborah Clark out of Barbados. Beryl Crawford is here as well. So privileged to have each and every one of you guys with us today. You guys make the program and programs what they are. You guys, because you all show up, you support, you share, you smash the emoji button, you keep things moving. Thank you, folks. Trust you guys have had a fantastic weekend. Ingrid Ambrose, Maxine Still. Good to have Valera, Marcus as well, and Alex Boom. Tommy Gibbs, you tell him we hello is Beatrice guy attention, eh? That's what somebody else get fetch away. Debbie Owen Kirk. Good to have you, Debbie Owen Kirk. Kelston Booker's here as well. Beautiful folks, we are so happy you're here. We're so happy. We're so happy. And we trust that when we put through the feet to Brother Andy, all goes well in our front. We just hope. We can hope, folks. We just hope all goes well with Brother Andy. Barbara Ralph, how are you doing, Barbara? Coletta Reynolds, how are you? Debbie Hohen Kirk, Wayne Liddell, Mark Williams. Good to have you, folks. Peace and power. Hundreds of you have already joined us, and we're so privileged. We're humble, folks. Like walking on sacred ground. When you all show up, no, we got a different audience here. Different, I say. We're struggling, folks. It's true. But when the Jagabats and Trench Crappos. Good afternoon, Magnell Barrow. Good afternoon. I see Gloria Chester is here. Gloria, how are you doing? Good to have you, Gloria. Neil Bino is here. Lorraine Dainty Galloway. Stefan Chavez. Good to have you, Veronica Primo-Rollins. Joan Ramachendo. Commissioner Joan, how are you doing? Commissioner Joan, how are you doing? Good to have you, Joan. Joan says good afternoon, Sherrod and viewers. All right. I have a young visitor disturbing the eye at this end. Joan, good to see you. Folks, Joan is telling me I got to remind you guys about this afternoon. It's on the cards, Joan. It's on the cards. The Joan is talking about that the rally goes down this afternoon, good folks. All roads lead to, you know where? Burnham Court. Yep, parade ground, folks. All roads lead there. And really looking forward to seeing you folks. Parade ground zero this afternoon for that rally. We fed up, we tired. And we're gonna talk a couple things there, folks. We're gonna talk a couple things. We have a couple things to say. Who vex? Who vex lose? Don't come wrong with funny. Lest we forget, folks, the 2020 general regional elections. That's our topic for today. Fraud is still fraud. Fraud is still fraud. Yep. And as I said, for those of you who are now joining us, Randolph Kitchell, our brother from another mother, our friend, is going to be joining us. And I was hoping to have another friend from another brother from another mother. We're going to hold and see. But good to have you, folks. We're happy that you're already here. That's enough for us, you know. And Randy would agree that's enough for us. You know, we want only fancy things in life, you know. That peace and contentment, peace of mind. You go far away. Very far away. Far away. Mm-hmm. But again, guys, we're so happy that you lovely, beautiful folks embrace us with your presence. Shirley Juice, Etendre, Marcel William is here, and Sandra Facey, Vesta, Hardy, Rajkumar, I know it's Pashwe now. Lorraine Dainty Galloway, Wilfred McCaddy. Good to have you, folks. All right, I'm going to go hunting from a friend and brother. Folks, again, as I've been instructed by Commissioner Joan Ramachendo, goes down this afternoon, Burnham Court, Promenade Gardens opposite. Parade Ground, Burnham Court, folks. That's where the action is going down. That's where the action going down this afternoon, good folks. And I want to welcome each and every one of you. Fraud is still fraud. It is what it is. Fraud is still fraud to people. I'm so happy that you guys are here. I don't want to say it in a braggadocious way. Janice Booker, Patricia Kissoon, Muriel Scott, and all the other folks like Dan, Britton David, Takur Durain joining us. Not one. Not one. Not one. Not one, we sing. Good afternoon. Do I have who I think I have on the line?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We there. We
outside. Pace and power, folks. Pace and power. Randy here. Randy has showed up. Brother from another mother, my friend. Welcome, sir. Welcome,
Yeah,
sir.
yes.
How are you
I'm
doing?
here. I'm here. Yeah. I'm happy to be here, Sharon, on this second anniversary of the theft of democracy
You've
in our
characterized it
nation.
correctly, sir.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let me just make sure our guests, our viewers, listeners, they're our guests too. They're hearing us, guys. Can you hear Randy? Randy's on the line with me. Let me know if you hear
Yep.
Randy clearly. Do let us know that. We're happy to have him. Yes, I hear somebody says, "Go, Randy." Fraud is fraud, which means they're hearing you. I'm getting a
Mm-hmm.
slight feedback at my end. Randy, how are you doing there?
I'm good, I'm good. I'm really good. I'm here having some lunch and I'm looking at the West Indies in this third ODI, the third T20.
Uh-huh.
You know, for those persons who are interested in cricket, India chose to bowl first in West Indies and now 39 without loss of a 4.2 overs. Kyle Mills 39, 29. We're looking good in this one. We're looking good. Good start.
You know, I like I
Longest
like
10 runs are over.
I like my mental health, so I just go easy with the cricket. I like my mental health. I value it. I value it. We got enough with the
But you
PAP
have
to
to,
deal
yeah,
with. We got enough to deal with them. So the rest of my mental health, I kind of guard it jealously.
yeah. I know how it goes. But things like sports have to take your mind off the situation in this
Yeah,
country
yeah. It's
that has
needed.
persisted over the last 2 years.
Yeah, it's needed. And Randy, you've been covering all of it. You've been covering all of it, and you because first and
Mm.
foremost, you're a citizen, so you're impacted by the policies of this administration,
Yes.
right? And
And that
let's
is important. That's important.
let us start. Let us start with uh, election 2020, and then we're going to come to where we are, the surprises you may have had, and that kind of thing. Let us start there. Election 2020, a number of things we have witnessed in that election. A lot still unanswered. A lot still unanswered,
Mhm.
Randy. I have up here the graphic that shows the summary of irregularities, and we know this by heart because, folks, the third person I was expecting is Christopher Jones. I was hoping to have him on. Chris, Randy, and I started the recount. What did we call it? Election
The
recount
recount update.
update. Yeah, the recount
Mhm.
update, and we were out. We were outside for weeks, folks. We were outside for weeks in COVID, in rain, in sun, whatever it took. We were out there picking up our part of the relay, helping in that area, and we were out here, and so we saw what transpired. We were at Ground Zero, which was the National Recount Center, which now houses, which is
Mhm.
the Artichoke Convention Center, which now houses the National Assembly. And we
Mhm.
witnessed the opening of the boxes, and we saw what came out. We saw what came
Mhm.
out,
Mhm.
and we had a whole host of irregularities, as we dubbed them, whether it was you know missing COE certificates of electors. I think it was. Forgive me if my terms
Yeah.
might be
Mhm.
off. You had missing poll books, and you name it.
Mhm.
Statutory
Yeah.
documents.
You
They
know
they
what?
were all combined as statutory
Mhm.
documents, which were important to verify how the votes got in the box.
Right.
We had all
Right.
those
And
irregularities.
let me
Talk
just
to
let me
us.
just let me just interject here, Sharon,
Jump right
because
in. Go right in.
there's a prevailing narrative that keeps surfacing from some persons who might not be willing. There's all those students that don't willing to do their homework.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
got plenty of them just come
Mm-hmm.
on and ask about, but where the SOPs there?
Yeah, we have one here named
Now,
Gala
as you,
Spectator. One named Lacho.
uh,
We have a couple.
right? So they would come and they would ask, where your SOPs there? And as you would have just explained, the inspection of the box was done to it so you can certify those SOPs or whatever what came out at the end of polling. Now, if you inspect the box and you realize that skullduggery was done, were you even worried about the SOPs for the SOPs are incorrect?
Corruptionism.
Exactly.
Yep.
So they set up people who refuse to do their homework. You know, I normally ask them if they ask the SOPs, I ask, but with the rest of documents from them 49 boxes.
Yeah.
Still when unanswered. You could find that, you could come back and ask any other question.
Still unanswered. So we have this whole list of irregularities, and you know, we have there's a laundry list of all the things that were missing and couldn't be reconciled, or we couldn't reconcile how those votes, how those ballots got into those boxes. Interestingly, it was from every community that we say traditionally votes PPP along the East Coast, and in some other places that traditionally vote PPP. It is quite interesting, Randy, when you think of it, that we are deemed as riggers by these folks who got no shame, the fraudsters, and in every community that votes traditionally APNU AFC, everything is intact.
Yep.
Everything is intact. And so we have the list of irregularities, and then we have a list of anomalies. Right? A list of irregularities, and we have a list of anomalies. And here we're talking about, again, there are people who voted, people who would have been out of jurisdiction and voted, right? Voted without an oath of identity, missing oath of identity, unstamped ballots, missing poll books, missing official list of electors from the ballot boxes. So we had irregularities and anomalies. These are unresolved things in the 2020 March 2nd, 2020 general region elections.
Yep. You know what is concerning though, Sherrod?
Tell us.
You know, I'm going to try and highlight a few details here.
Go right ahead.
That sort of played out after this. Of course, we had the petitions filed in the courts.
And we come in.
And the petition, right. I know you come in there, but I wanted to bring it because we're talking about these irregularities. The petition that deals with these anomalies, inconsistencies, and irregularities, that if put before a court of law, before any judge with any modicum of understanding, that would be enough, more than enough evidence to vitiate an elections and say, look, this thing got too many problems for you to accept the result. And that is what the PPP, of course, is afraid of. And so we saw this flimsy excuse to show that particular petition, because everybody knows once the evidence is put before a court, what would have happened. And so this is where we are in this country, and I'm happy that you brought up those irregularities, because people tend to forget.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. Yep.
And
people tend to forget.
That is the reality of what we are dealing with. And so we had this election with all of these unresolved issues. And as we segued into elections petition, two election petitions were filed, and it seems to me that the PPP who claimed that they have won this election fair and square, trying to knock out these petitions and all kinds of technicalities, and not only the substance have not been heard as yet. Of any of them have not been heard of yet. Very worrying, very concerning.
Yep. If you are so certain that you will be vindicated, then allow the petitions to go. You shouldn't even put up any you shouldn't even make any arguments in the court. You should say, listen, let's bring the evidence. We know that we won. But no, you don't want to do that. You do not want to do that. Right? And you know, Sher, the CCJ judge, when they were the recent hearing, of the issue of jurisdiction and the High Court, and whether the Court of Appeal had jurisdiction to, overturn the High Court's decision. That whole part of the case, the CCJ judge made it a point to identify the slothful nature.
Indeed.
Slothful nature of these petitions, and whether, and the context in which the judge brought it up was interesting, Sherry, because I think it was Anil or one of them who were one of the lawyers for the PPU saying that, look, election courts are set up because of the urgent nature of certain things, and because of this urgent nature, certain documentations must be in place and X, Y, Z. And he kept using this idea of, look, elections are a matter of urgency in the nation. That's why, we're doing certain things quickly. And so the man was like, well, where is that sense of alacrity and urgency when it comes to executing or ensuring these petitions are heard? That's 2 years later.
There's that word alacrity. I think we may have that. Let me see if we have that excerpt from the CCJ recently, as it begun hearing arguments in this election petition case election petition number 99.
But outside of that, we go no further.
Agreed.
Mr. Attorney General, did I understand you correctly saying that only once an election petition was decided on the merits?
In Guyana, yes.
In Guyana?
Yes.
That doesn't sound like a very effective method of challenging elections then. Wouldn't you agree that whatever we think about how to solve this, but wouldn't you agree that this system, as you describe it, gives an awful lot of power to a first instance judge? Because the judge can use any procedural device to torpedo the whole issue. I'm not saying that the Chief Justice did that in this case or whatever, but theoretically.
Your Honor, sorry.
And the judge might, for example, and I'm not saying that that is the case here, but there may be a case where the judge is manifestly wrong, but you will still say, well, we have to accept that because this is simply in no way appealable. These procedural decisions are simply not appealable. Do I understand you correctly?
Your Honors had to deal with that question in the Dominican case.
Correct, yes.
And Your Honors correctly pointed out that the decision is unappealable either way.
Yes. I could
have made a most compelling case of a flagrant breach of procedure, and the judge could have said, no, I reject that, and that would have been the end of the matter. And that is the nature of the jurisdiction.
Yes.
Because the larger policy directive is governments have to get on with the business of governing. This concerns the election of members to the National Assembly and the formation of government, which underpins the rule of law.
Yes.
And we said that very elegantly in RAM.
Yes, no, we understand that, and it has been expressed by this court. So, that is fine. But I understand in this case there were two petitions, and one was stopped because of the procedural issue. Another one was allowed to proceed, correct?
I can't recall what's the status of the other one.
Yes.
I can speak to this one. I can't recall right now.
So, looking at it in a very distant, from a very distant. So the system is very eager to punish, let's say, a few days delay in service, because that is what we're talking about. But then we are now 2 years after that election. That one petition that was allowed to continue is still somewhere. And Guyana is not the only country where this happens. It would seem, when I read these cases, that they take an awful long time. So what about this urgency to deal with these things quickly? We all understand why that is necessary, but in practice, there doesn't seem to be that urgency.
Well, Your Honor, you are possibly far better placed than I am to speak to the alacrity with which the judiciary must work.
Randy? You know, it's amazing.
That was interesting.
Yeah, very much so. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
I was saying it's amazing that he would say, you know, it's the judiciary that's far better place, because the government can set the tone, right? They are the executive, right? And if they want cases to be heard expeditiously, if they want an efficient justice system, then they have to set the policies in place.
Yep.
They have to set the policies.
I don't know how he expects the CCJ to expedite cases in your country. You are the people in charge of that. You are the Minister of Legal Affairs.
Correct.
And that's a matter of legal affairs. You understand?
Sleeping at the wheel, you know. As we talk about urgency, there was an urgency to drop the 19 fraud charges from Irfan Ali, post August 2nd, 2020. There was an urgency to drop the Attorney General's own fraud charges, Ashley Singh fraud charges, Brassington fraud charges. You know, it was quite an urgency. No reasons given, no questions asked. You know how it is here. But in hearing the petitions, right, to really prove the fraud that they claim in this, attempted fraud, right? You can't seem to do that. You can't seem to bring these cases. And there was another case. There was the Holidar case. His driver, who was his family, Mr. Holidar, brought a case against, was it Mingo? And what the Chief Justice told him was that some of the issues there went to rigging. Rigging has to be dealt through an elections petition. And it is the same people fighting the petition. But he said he had the evidence.
Yep.
He said he had the evidence. And the day before the Chief Justice handed down her decision, he withdrew the case. The man with the evidence of rigging withdrew the case.
Yep.
And this is what we're faced with.
Yep.
This is what we're faced with.
Yeah.
You know, as we press on, Randy, we're 2 years in. You know, they got what they wanted. But you know, growing up, my mother used to say a thing. You know, sometimes when you get what you wanted, you didn't really want it, you know. You don't really want it.
You know what? Yep.
Right? You were dying before you got it.
That is such an interesting statement about that reflects on the state of this country. This, after being installed in August of 2020, I believe that the PDP was given, it was handed to them by the fraudulent acts, and a golden opportunity to redeem themselves from the 23 years of nonsense.
Oh yes.
And they have not. They have jumped back into the driver's seat and continued to take us down this road of division under the guise of a propaganda campaign called One Guyana. And it is almost an insult to one's intelligence, right? Because I will tell you this: the leader of the opposition asked the other day whether or not Guyana is better off right now than in 2020. And the answer is a resounding no. Correct. You can look to every single sector.
Correct.
Every single sector. From the state of policing in the country, right, to the economic situation, right? Every single sector, health, human service, everything has suffered at the hands of this administration. It is incompetence stacked upon incompetence, right? And it's not only it's incompetence stacked on arrogance, right? And this idea like, look, we in charge, you can't tell we what to do, right? We are not going to investigate anything against any one of our members, that they could do what the hell they want, and we're just going to continue rolling. And the Guyanese people have realized this administration. And if you stand up and talk, and we got anything to do with your salary, you better know you're going home if you're in the public service. So people are afraid in this country.
Correct.
And that is the state of affairs after 2 years.
Correct.
People getting shoot in the sleep 3 o'clock in the morning.
Correct.
And everything is all fine. And you're worried about somebody you don't want to shake your damn hand? Why am I shaking your hand? I shake your hand when you start to do right by the people of Guyana.
Yeah. Yeah. Because he wants that image that all is well and they're doing so well and they're doing nice and so on. That's the image they're looking for.
Yep.
You know, all is well.
Yep.
We're doing great. Nothing to worry about. You know, at least the best we ever had. You know? But that's not what the Americans say.
Yeah.
Because the Americans are looking and they're seeing some things quite different. And as we were discussing in our morning program, as we were discussing over the weekend, you know, they've been looking at us a little bit, and we're seeing there is a synthesis of, and there's a continuity of what they've been talking about. Here is Hank Johnson, rather, a congressman in the U.S., you know, in the height of the flood, talking about how the natural patrimony, the wealth, you know, our resources is for all Guyanese. You remember that? When people begging for food, begging for hampers, and hampers going to some places 3 and 4 times, or some other places not even once. And here's a foreigner, a U.S. congressman, having to say, Guyana's wealth is for all the people of Guyana, irrespective of the ethnicity. Why did he stop there? That's the only thing he listed, you know, ethnicity. He didn't say creed, sexual orientation, political affiliation. The only thing he mentioned, he said, irrespective of their ethnicity, I urge the current government and the leader of the opposition in the National Assembly to work together towards further strengthening Guyana's democracy and building a more inclusive nation. That's Mr. Hank Johnson. June 2021, Albio Series, again, another congressman in the U.S., senior role there. He's the chairman of the United States Congressional Subcommittee on the Western Hemisphere. That's where we're there right now. You know, 2021, he's talking about in Guyana, we should work to ensure the proceeds of the oil revenues benefit the entire nation. Right? That's Mr. Series talking there. And then quite recently, the man who shook Ali's hand told him, he said, Guyana remains a partner as we work to bolster food and energy security, promote shared prosperity and inclusive growth, strengthen transparency, and safeguard the environment. Ali would have us to believe these people just pulling things out of thin air is platitudes, and they're really saying we're doing wonderful and nice. Let me go down the road.
Yeah.
That's what Ali would have us believe.
And these, right. You know, as we talk about the various sectors, Sharon, I want us to hone in on, you know, I know you would have been recounting all of the guardrails of democracy that they are breaking down, right? And these are all consequences of an installation of a corrupt government. And so one of the consequences is this what is happening in Parliament. And I know that you know this firsthand because you are there. But we have to sort of put it in we have to ensure that people understand word differently for people.
Unpack,
I want to say this.
Unpack.
I've seen what has happened to the Parliament of Guyana since August 2nd, 2020, and we're talking about the consequences of that installation on that year. And this is one of them. I have seen MPs locked out
Correct.
I have seen,
Correct.
and I salute those of you who stood up for the natural patrimony and the protection of the wealth of this country on that night when the PPP forced through that amendment to the natural resources bill that would see them, the president select 5 people who will control the trillions of dollars, Guyana dollars that will be put into that fund.
Correct.
And so I salute those MPs, because as Blinken and all of the other persons would have said, that these monies are supposed to be for the people of Guyana. And you have an administration in place that really don't care about proper and equitable distribution of those resources. So when those MPs on that night said, we are going to stand up for the people of Guyana, right? I say I salute you, and you should wear your suspension with like a badge of honor, because at every single opportunity you get, you can remind people why you were suspended. And for those people who are talking foolishness, you imagine trying to protect the country's resources from the greedy hands of the PPP and ensuring that there is transparency. And that is your reward. I've seen MPs sit in a public accounts committee, no government minister there, after the government amended to ensure that they don't have a quorum to hold a meeting, and they're talking about transparency and accountability. It has become a farcical puppy show.
Yep.
That is what it has become. And that is what we're talking about. Look at every sector in this country, and you would have seen the degradation over the last 2 years. It is almost unbelievable how quickly we have fallen.
I don't know if you can talk about sugar.
Unbelievable.
I don't know if you can talk about sugar.
Well, oh Lord, I believe it's talk with sugar. Sugar, I often say this, Sharon, sugar is the Jumbie that the PPP continues to carry on the back, and it will be their downfall.
Well,
sugar.
Randy, before you get into that, listen to Chief Jumbie try to persuade us we ain't got a sugar shortage. Chief Jumbie.
Sugar doesn't have shortage of bag sugar. That's the 100-pound bag sugar. What Gaisuku has a shortage of is packet sugar, right? But you can only do packet sugar when we're grinding and we are in production. We haven't ground cane sugar since.
All right, let's take that from the top, folks. Apologies.
Gaisuku doesn't have shortage of bag sugar. That's the 100-pound bag sugar. What Gaisuku has a shortage of is packet sugar, right? But you can only do packet sugar when we're grinding and we are in production. We haven't ground cane sugar since the end of May 2022. So we had stocks put aside, but a lot of all of it was sold out in the local market. And unfortunately, we got wind that some of our sugar is being smuggled to a foreign country via the backtrack. So we had to take control of that, because Guyanese sugar has to go first to Guyanese. Guyanese supermarket, Guyanese bakers, Guyanese manufacturing companies. And that is why we focused our distribution in those 3 areas: bakers, manufacturers, and supermarkets. We've even start to sell to the small shops. iFlut is grinding. That is 2,000 bags of sugar being produced today. 2,000 bags of sugar. So to the rumormongers who's trying to peddle that we don't have sugar, we don't have packet sugar. But packet sugar is going to be back on the market within the next 2 weeks. We're guaranteeing that. But what we do have is bag sugar, and we can supply the market with bag sugar.
I think he hasn't had his vitamins since May, and the elevator and meeting the top floor anymore. So, Randy, we don't have a shortage.
There's a shortage indeed, Shared, in the PPP and Gaisuku, and the government and Gaisuku got a shortage of brains, first of all, right? There's a shortage of integrity. There's a shortage of shame too. They got none of them 3 things.
Mm-hmm.
None. The cockroach eat out all the shame, first of all. This is the government that spent the good part of 25 years talking about lining up for flour. This is where the shortage of brains come into. I wonder who is the person that decided that, look, let these people line up and let me take out picture.
Yeah, there's no shortage, but line up. And only one pack. Only one pack per family. Only one pack per person. This is where we are.
Sugar will be their demise. I have said it. This, and for all intents and purposes, for all the information that we got, since 2007, when Jagdeo decided to take the money that the EU gave him and invested in sugar, although the people tell you don't move away from sugar, tell them to move away, divest, sugar not gonna be making any money. He decided that, look, he's going to make a political decision here, because we're going to keep our supporters on the plantation, literally, and we are going to persist with sugar, because sugar, according to him, in his calculation, equates to votes.
Yeah.
Problem with that is that economically it makes little sense. Financially, it makes little sense, and it is going to be their demise. They are going to continue to pump sugar instead of, imagine from 2007, Sherrod.
Talk to us.
Now, imagine if you had a proactive, progressive, we should take the word progressive out of the party name. If you had a progressive plan to move this country away from the failing sugar and invest in crops and other things that will be more productive on the market. I told somebody the other day, I said, you know what? With all the legalization that's happening, all the legalization of marijuana that's happening, we there behind the scene.
Yeah.
Just imagine a progressive plan to turn all of them cane field and you plant cannabis. And stop and you know, just throwing a crazy idea out there. It might not be as crazy, but the thing is, it is legal in so many countries. You can be a supplier.
And the bill we brought
and so,
is parked in a select committee for over a year now.
Yep. We can't legalize it yet, but we're burning acres and acres of it instead of trying to gain some money from it. But don't let me stray from sugar. I believe that sugar is going to be that monkey. That jumbie on the back, and it's going to be their downfall. And we're going to continue to pump billions of monies that could be going to develop this country to continue to prop up sugar. And that is going to come back to hurt there.
Correct. You know, as we talk about jumbies pumping and billions of dollars, we can have a discussion like this and we can talk about Sue. Can have a discussion we talk about
the lack of integrity. Yeah.
Oh yes, and you know what? I heard a friend over the weekend coming back from his New York trip, his Washington trip, talk about restoring the image of Guyana the world stage and struggling to do so. I wonder who got them doing that. All right. He talk about being in a room and people asking about elections 2020. It's a pity we ain't got no footage of that. And having to spend hours, you understand? I mean, I think people are more interested in Sue and Sue Gate and who has all the support and who handles all the agreement. Let's take a little bit of Isabel Young and Jagdeo in that infamous interview, and then we come back. I'd love to have your thoughts, Andy.
What about within your government? Do you accept bribes?
No, I don't.
We've spoken to a number of Chinese business people in Guyana who said that you do accept bribes, and they've said that.
Geez, we're going to take it back.
What about within your government? Do you accept bribes?
No, I don't.
We've spoken to a number of Chinese business people in Guyana who said that you do accept bribes, and they've said that in fact it's the only way to get business done is to bribe. One Chinese businessman we spoke to involving timber logging told us that basically as long as the vice president is okay with it, it's fine. He just needs to give one phone call to whoever's in charge, they'll get it done right away. the real big boss is the vice president. Everything is under the table. The whole country is like this.
Yeah, well, I can't comment on that because it would be an anonymous person. You can just sit there and fabricate that. As I said before, a lot of the companies and reporters. But you can if you name the person, that's fine. When the reporters come from abroad, this is their catch you kind of thing. You always want to make a developing country leader look corrupt. So you've done your bit. Unless you say who the person is, I can't comment on anonymous people. I can say, two persons told me before this interview, don't do the interview with Vice News because that is precisely what they will do. They will fabricate something and come and say they spoke with people here.
Well, we're not fabricating
yes,
anything. But
but let's talk about let me tell you something. So all my statements are in with the Integrity Commission. The last government, they checked everything about me and they didn't find anything. They checked my bank accounts abroad. They checked everything. They didn't find anything. So there has to be the evidence of it. But you're not bringing evidence. You're saying an anonymous Chinese source. Okay, well, maybe the Chinese company that did not get the agreement that they wanted here, maybe they're the ones who told you. Or it could be just a fictitious thing.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Su Zhirong?
Su. My relationship? Nothing. He's a tenant in my place, yeah.
And he's a good friend of yours?
Yes, yes. He is a friend of ours. His father was here from many years ago.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he lives next door to you.
Yes.
You know, he was able to arrange meetings and catch-ups with you at any point in the day. He claims
as a friend, yeah.
He claims that through his very close relationship with you, that he's able to get any deal done.
Well, I don't know if that's
able to change laws for investors.
But then which law has been changed for any investor?
So Sue told us that if you want to get anything done in Guyana, you need some hookups. I'm very close with the vice president and the other officials.
The hookups, Randy, the hookups. If you want hookups, right? Mm-hmm. Anybody who watched that know what happened there. Talk to us.
The lack, the shortage, and we're using the word shortage of integrity.
Yeah.
You know, how do you have a leg to stand on?
Yep.
How can you talk about transparency and democracy and we ain't even talking about the act, the corrupt acts. We're talking about the lack of any action on the part of the government to even investigate. I spoke and I asked somebody, I said, imagine if that was the vice president of the US and Kamala was caught, somebody, coming to Kamala House and say, yeah, she can take care of this person's take care of all the things. Just imagine how a functioning democracy works.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
She would have been home. She would have been home pending an investigation. You understand? And so there is, and throughout today and in the following days, you'll hear a lot of talk about functioning democracy and not to say functioning, but the word democracy will be thrown about.
Triumph of democracy. This is a triumph of democracy we're watching it here. Triumph of it. Where investors can come to your home and make deals on the one side, by sidestepping, go invest, and all the relevant offices we pay a lot of money to maintain and set up and so on. Your friend, because your friend bring them, you can bring investors by your house and so on. This is how you do it. Triumph of democracy.
Yep. That word democracy will be thrown about, but I challenge anybody who got any amount of understanding to ask themselves, what really is a democracy? What really is a democracy? Is a democracy? Is this country a functioning democracy when the police can break into your home at 3 o'clock, shoot you in your sleep, and there is nothing coming out of the story yet.
Yeah.
Huh? Is it a functioning democracy when a businessman could walk into the vice president's house to introduce you to another businessman, right? Because he got some deal for side. Is that how a democracy works? Is it a democracy when the public accounts committee that's supposed to be investigating the spending of this country can't meet because the government went and changed the rules so that they don't need to show up? And if they don't show up, they can't meet?
Correct.
Is it a functioning democracy? Huh? When the president could call up the police service commission and suggest that he might get promoted?
Triumph.
Is it a democracy that we're living in? When the opposition is planning a protest and the police force could put out something to say that you have permission to protest? Are we living in a democracy when police riding around casing and trailing the opposition leader? Those are things that you read about in them backwater countries that ain't got no sort of government
and spy
structure.
And nobody don't know who authorized them to trail lead them the opposition. We're still waiting on the report. We're still waiting on that.
There are certain things that got to be in place. We're not in a functioning democracy when 2 years and the Public Service Commission can't even be put in place. But people getting put in jobs.
Still waiting on local government election. Oh no.
Yeah.
Right. And
we are not living in a functioning democracy.
And the commissions that were recently put in place, because the Public Accounts Committee not meeting, the committee have not been able to discuss the salaries of those workers, those commissioners. So in effect, the commissioners aren't functioning.
Yep. So we had an elections, a contentious one that is still in the court for us a while. So we didn't even know if that was we are almost certain that that was not a democratic process because it was manipulated and they're trying to hide the fact by not allowing the petition to go forward. That's so we've satisfied, barely satisfied one criterion for a democracy. Good. But now this government is in place for 2 years and have effectively stripped down every other guardrail of democracy.
Correct. And we can.
There is no accountability. There's no transparency. There's extrajudicial killing. Which functioning democracy that you bypass the court, the judge, the lawyer, everybody, and the police make a decision on the spot and kill you? Is that a democracy we're living in? So after 2 years, Sharon, it is almost unanimous. Well, I say almost unanimous because there is a small group of people who are benefiting and reaping the fruits of corruption, and they are very happy with this situation.
Very much so. Very much so. And they want to maintain
the rest of us gotta wait until the crumbs fall off the table and the corrupt leaders are fat and rosy. And maybe when they fall down and die, we scavenge on them. Because they gorge on the wealth of this country. That's where we at. We are honestly not living in a democracy. And so they could run about all you want today about democracy. But every single body should ask them at every opportunity, what about this commission? What about this committee? Why you ain't doing this? And let them stutter like Jack Deere when he heard Sue's name.
Oh, Sue?
Madness. Right? And again, who's Sue? Right? And people running about here talking about SOP, my foot.
Yes, and who bowing and who shaking hand. Right? And billions being hijacked.
Listen. Yeah, let me deal with that for a second, Sharon. I know we might be going off on a tangent, but I want to deal with this shake hand issue. And the leader of the opposition will address it today, of course, also. But I want to deal with it. Don't go crying because I didn't shake your hands. What is more important is that you need to understand that I will not shake your hand until you do right by the people. That is the stand that the opposition leader is taking, and I back him on that.
Yeah.
Don't come to shake my hand as if everything is fine.
It is not.
When you start to act like a man, when you start to act like if you're actually the leader of the country and investigate Jack Dio, then you have the privilege of shaking my hands. As it is right now, you are a puppet. I don't even know if it's your hands I'm shaking because you're a puppet.
Yeah. If it's off of your own strength, you're shaking. Or you've been told.
Exactly.
You know?
Don't come for photo up with shaking hands with me like we good. We ain't good. We not good. The people of the country suffering. You continue to cajole and coddle the people who are corrupt. You as the president got no power card to the Chinese people. So I'm not even supposed to be shaking your hand. And the real president come, I might think about shaking your hand. And let's talk about how we could fix it.
Yep.
Madness.
You know, he was
get your act together and then come back for a shake.
He was he seemed to have this he seemed to be hung up on these things. Whether you accept his invitation to a meeting, whether you shake his hands, you know, that he seemed to be big on that as against the real policy issues of the day, getting down to the real business,
right,
and not just transactions. He seemed to be focused on transactions and not business.
No, the focus on propaganda. That's the nature of this administration.
Yeah.
It's a bait and switch government. Look at this shiny thing that we're putting up here. Woo, look, turning sod for this hotel. Woo, development. Lovely. Look, we're going to visit this person.
Yeah, business.
All of that.
Business, we want.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Whilst in the communities, we are going to be developing the community alone. At the NDC levels, simple things like giving the grant to the NDCs. You're giving one community and skipping the other one. These sort of discriminatory practices, whilst we jumping up, woo, development and togetherness one day, you know. But look, scratch the surface and see what is happening.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they like this sort of propaganda game. And so a handshake is a big thing. They can post it up. President and opposition leader shakes hands.
Oh, yes. You did not accept my invitation to meet. You're going to be hearing from me on this. How dare you not shake my hand? How dare you not accept my invitation to a meeting? Don't play with the future of this country by not shaking my hands. Don't play with the future of this country by not accepting my invitation to a meeting. What sugar shortage? What unemployment? What blackouts? This is where we are, folks. This is where we are. And we just touched a couple issues, you know, from March 2nd, 2020 now. And you all know that because it's been your lived experience. We just touched a couple things. But we're going to touch some more this afternoon at that rally at 4 o'clock. Randy, you're still with us? You know, we just touched a couple of things. Folks, I want to thank Randy for joining us. That's going to do it for from our end here. That is going to do it for us from our end, folks. I want to thank my brother who's been out here in this struggle with me from day one, folks. Randolph Cuchillo. Randy, better known as Randy. I want to thank him for coming by this afternoon. He's coming back in. Sorry about that, sir. Go right ahead, Randy. Yeah, so I was telling the folks, I want to thank you for coming by today. We just touched on a couple of things. We need the rest of the day, and we still won't even touch on a fraction of the things that has gone wrong since March 2nd, 2020.
Able to touch on the others.
But I was telling the folks they gotta meet us. They gotta meet us at parade ground for the rest. Gotta reach to the parade ground for the rest. We be having some IT challenges here getting Randy stabilized in the studio, but if he comes back in, he comes back in. Folks, share the live, smash that emoji button wherever you are, and partner with us as well. Share the live, folks. Lest we forget. March 2nd, 2020, and the repercussions. You see when you install people? You see when you didn't get it the right way? The democratic way? You see when you didn't get it the correct way? With the proper statutory documents in the box? Such and so forth? This is the things you end up with. Folks, I want to thank you for joining us. And again, my brother Randolph Christian, this is going to do it for us at this end. We're going to see you guys back this evening. And I put in an asterisk over this evening because if this afternoon programs at the Burnham Court goes into the program, that's going to be incorporated into our program this evening. So we're going to watch, folks, and tentatively see you back here at 8 this evening. Otherwise than that, see you on the court, Burnham Court, parade ground, folks, ground zero this afternoon. I intend to see you folks done. All right. Put a bell in your chest, huh? Thanks for joining us, folks. Share the live, smash the emoji button, partner with us as well. Have a great rest of the day, my good people. That's going to do it for us at this end. Take care. Stay safe.